else.
Pick number 3 will be Canada.
So
we will go to home soil for Lingo here. Yeah, it's a complete different pick face. You have
really, like,
Norway
a lot of praise, but I think
he's
he's
spicy one, and
such a
Poland
difference
concluding
from what we saw
the rotation.
Norway is actually not a surprising pick.
I think it was a little bit confusing from the
Ice,
kind of
very good
dancing
at
the
it, so this
doors
could be something that maybe a comfort
that
pick
is
for him.
like
He
the
knows that
most
everybody
common
else
spot
beats
you'll
the
see
map,
snipers
right?
start off the
That's kind
round.
of been a common thing.
And now they're just trying to slow
Disaster.
push down. The white is in the
this could be something that Lingo is using to his advantage, and I think honestly this map hack in general for Lingo actually benefits him, especially in Canada and Norway, and even a little bit of Poland as well. So I'm interested to see how that
already
feathers out.
And I love the idea that maybe Lingo needs an edge somewhere, so he's finding it in the map.
And yeah,
I do think so. Let's see if
there.
this
You
will
gotta have a
actually
sniper in your
happen.
hand. YCK rather.
But I still
just
have
keeps
to
hitting these
put
big shots. He is
Otak
going
and
to lock
first
it
and
down, and that is
position.
8 rounds here for EP.
Unbelievable.
Honestly,
Well,
it
we'll
didn't
see
look like that
several new maps here in Group 2.
No, I really
it's
didn't.
already
It just
been
feels
a
like, again, they
banger
were
of a
kind of
day
just
in
playing this,
Trackmania.
okay, someone go find a pick, someone try to make a duel, and then even the fact that we saw the initial kill go against the W and Wood control, or Woodroom, I should say, and then you're, just getting a player pushing down stairs with no utility, like just trying to make a sort of a weird, risky play. It just, I feel like that wasn't worth it. It just feels like you're too far in the game now to be doing something like that. But it kind of goes back to the point you brought up, is like these guys have played each other countless times. So again, you're kind of just trying to figure out these like tiny little mistakes and little things that you're noticing that your opponent is doing. But EP, it was looking really sloppy in the beginning, but now things have really turned a different page so far. So this has been, again, very impressive to see EP getting back into this, winning fashion, or winning ways, we should say.
We want to just give a huge shout out to the whole Trackmania community.
Really
it means a lot to have the opportunity to be here with you at such a
And if you're not prepared for this to go southwest, I'm not sure you're preparing fast enough, because that's where the zone could potentially go. You see the teams that are already there. They're positioned up on that high ground. They don't necessarily have to drop off just yet, but that time will come if it goes over towards the east or towards the north, and I think that's where the majority of the lobby would love for it to pull. But Shark and Teeny right now, they're using their position as a moment and a chance to kind of look back. Izzy and No Sip, they're not too far away from the zone, but they still have to rotate towards it.
I think the main thing that's going to play a pretty big factor here, though, is like that drone-out shot had already shown. It's the elevation pivots, but it's also just the fact that this zone is pulling over rather open river area, and so you're going to have teams that are going to burn through a lot of materials very quickly, especially if those teams on height decide to sort of fixate more onto their locations. And that's definitely something that Chino, Pablo, you can see they're trying to sort of elevate their stature, make it appear as though they are incredibly healthy, which they are currently, but it could change at a moment's notice. They're not trying to get lobby just yet. Malabuka Vico also, though, not willing to commit entirely to high ground, but still very content to be in this sort of middle ground territory where they could go up or they could go down, and it's all just going to depend on where the next zone pool is headed.
Yep. You hear that sound there? Reboots again are going to be turned up. We are reaching that 7th zone, which is why you've seen for the past 2 so far a more passive approach to the game plan, but it goes all the way towards the south. Not too much west lean on it, so we're going to have a huge opening towards the middle, but Pollo once again gets caught out. Back-to-back games of struggle from Pete Pollo. Oh my, what was that? Malabuka, a grave mistake, getting his shield dropped off just like that.
Malabuka's lucky that nobody else was beating him at the exact same time. If it was a healthy Pete and Pollo, we might have seen something different take place entirely. Instead, Malabuka will be able to replenish some of his shield, but maybe a little careful there on the trigger finger for the rocket launcher, man, because that could be the end of a run if we were a little bit further into the end game.
Yeah, and you can see they're the ones that got that elimination onto him. They were able to pick up that mythic pistol and put themselves in a good spot. Kamihari rotating on over again. They realize both sides of this actual zone, there's little crevices, little sides, more so on the east, that you can build up on that elevation. And I think Pablo, Chino are going to be one of those teams that try to hold on to whatever high ground they can.
I like what Virgo and Shadow are starting to set up for. Buga Braids on the other end of the spectrum, though, have managed to find slightly more isolated position, but just how long will it remain excluded from the rest of the lobby? Because I already tell Buga sort of checking out a couple different directions, trying to ensure that they are going to be able to just utilize this next launch pad without taking too many focal shots in the process. But it's tough, Jacob, because there are teams on high like Chino and Pablo that would be probably pretty eager to get some freebies in.
Yeah, Peterbot still up, lurking around, trying to figure out what's going to be the right play. We go from that ravine down in towards the middle. You see where the zone is going, towards the northwest. There's a whole mountain edge, and it's not them that you really have to be worried about. It's Shark and Teeny again on the high ground. Edson, PH and a couple other teams trying to use that launch pad to try to get away from the low ground, get away from the chaos, but they just run into one danger after another in the name of Shark and Teeny.
Poor Muzz, man, he just never had a chance. That's the difference between taking the launch pad and Shark Teeny's strategy of just using the crash pad fizz. They can still take those shots a much more feasible rate, and now they'll send it right back towards height. Edson, fortunately, didn't get cut off along the way here, but now Pablo, Chino, just biding their time. Also gonna opt to drop back towards that low ground position. They will layer up just one more tier above where some of that low ground congestion is starting to build. It's all about the front side control here, and Izzy just getting beamed.
He splatted down. Oh no, Izzy, that was almost the worst case scenario. But luckily for him, he was able to get up, dust himself off, and at least stay alive. But Shark does it again. He's able to take down Goofy. On the right side of this zone, though, Peterbot still trying to make a heroic run happen, but his back is truly up against the wall. No builds left. He's going to need a full elimination here onto anybody here to stay alive. Shockwaving again, staying to the front side of zone. He's just trying to be very, very calculated and precise. He knows he has one shot to make this one happen.
It's just playing fully paranoid Fortnite when you really break it all down. But for Vico and Malabuka, they've got really solid control here currently in the lower layers. Pete still lurking about, hoping that he can catch somebody off guard. Other teams already getting caught up in their own exchanges that he could just look to play janitorial through towards. But Pete might not get that opportunity. Chino, Pablo, they might be the ones to actually cut that run short. And when you really boil it all down, Pete, he's going to get the even trade with Hari. Just solo for solo action.
Yeah, it's going to be tough, but we have 10 games today, so they got 8 more opportunities to try to rise up the ranks. PHN down towards the side. Edson trying to keep their run going. Vico and Malabuka as well. As well, 3 eliminations.
Position to fight. Mally gonna use his last shield potion here, turn his attention towards his fragger Vico, who's able to play Moda. Just no opportunities for anyone to squeeze their way into this front side position. Where they're at on the low ground, they're just cutting teams off every which way. Shadow and Virgo gonna find themselves also being cleaned up by the lobby.
Yeah, Retro is gonna be the one to take down Shadow and end the run of him and Virgo, keeping himself long, just putting NA West here on the back as Cringe goes down. Romero's getting elimination, but Vico and Malabuka are holding tough from that position. Shots coming in from all angles, but they're not slowing down, but neither is Pablo up until now. He's gonna fall, but all of those materials quickly going on over to Chino. He knows this is the last hope that he has in this game. He's one of few solos left alive in a world full of duos.
And it doesn't help that it's Vico and Malabuka who are just overhead of him. Fortunately for Chino, he'll be able to evade their vision for the time being, but Malabuka, there's the first chop. He only has 2 builds though. He's going up. He's trying to match Teeny, but Teeny getting the better end of this exchange. He'll get some more damage than Malabuka's shields. Teeny though, the moment that he turns back down, Mally can't hang. He's taken out Shark with the follow-up to protect his IDL.
Takes a huge bite out of the competition. That is their high ground. Beware if you look to take it, even Vico's gonna fall a delay wash shortly after our final 4 teams. And Shark and Teeny are on the mountaintop yet again. They're on their throne looking down. Teeny's gonna drop. They almost have no choice. No builds left. This is anybody's shot to finally end the run. Teeny's gonna fall. Shark has only hope to go to the backside of zone, and it's NA West that takes him down.
Retro feeling really good about this one. He just needs to close out against Tomat because Mofu no longer able to hang. But again, they're just not super healthy. A great block there out of Leiwa, but it's not going to be enough. Retro holding strong and bringing things home in Game 2 for NA West.
This is a team I have been talking about all year long, saying they have to be one of the best teams on West. Week after week, I'm trying to put them in the moment that they deserve, and they prove it here again. They qualified to EWC, they qualified to the Global Championship, and now they win a game in their first LAN ever.
Always awesome to see some of these other regions get their flowers in the moment. It was definitely a hard-fought battle, but also want to give a big kudos there to Mofu and Tomat, some of the youngest competitors in the day's competition. They are 14 each, okay? And then you think about the fact that we've got players like Epic Well with a 10-year gap distance. And so you're kind of getting the best of both worlds here in today's competition, but as far as NA West representatives are considered for stamping themselves and opening things up big time, that's all Phoenix and Retro.
And it definitely has to be feeling good, especially the way they did it. No builds on the low round. Phoenix with a sliver of HP, and look at these moves. When they realized it was a 2v1, they just went absolutely hammered, making sure to just break him down off of his pedestal and eventually lead to them getting the elimination and the victory royale. And it has me thinking, like, what does that do to the leaderboard after 2 games?
Exactly, because we saw a pretty big shift there too. Leiwa Romero from the Brazilian squadron, you know, them solidifying that second place position, that's going to be a pretty big catapult. And it's also going to be something that it keeps them in contention, especially for that top 7 territory. But when you see Shark and Teeny maintaining these strong end game positions, it starts to get a little bit more worrisome because it is going to be very tough for other teams to essentially shut them out.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be one of those situations to where once you start to gain a little bit of a hot streak, and yes, it is 10 games today, but once you start to feel a little bit more comfortable with the cushion that you've built, whether you're in first, second, third, or fourth, when you look down to that 7th place finish, it will allow you to play a little bit more confident. You know, a lot of these guys, when it comes to online, Shark Teeny, Phoenix Retro, you even got Peterbot and Pollo, Vico, Malibu, but they are some of the most aggressive teams that we do have in Fortnite history, but we're not necessarily seeing that here yet today. But I think that's just because it's day 1, it's groups, it's top 7 qualifies you to finals. You're not winning any money here today.
Right, you don't want to play every single card in your deck just because you've got them in your hand. You want to try and conceal as much as possible for when you make it towards that finals competition. But look guys, 2 games down already and plenty more to go, so make sure to grab yourself a refresher and we'll be back shortly.
A lot of people are haunted by their past. I'm inspired by it.
They're not just playing for themselves, they're really playing for their entire family.
They have defeated their demons! They have crushed the curse!
What's going on, Fortnite fan? We got Monster D-Face here with us. We just watched that incredible game wrap up. We obviously had a moment there. Caster's kind of broke down the win. We got to talk about some comeback stories, though, MDF's. Game number 2 obviously is already done. You want to talk about Vico Malabuca, though?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we're talking about a comeback story right now. A team that started off really slow and then all of a sudden explosive. And you think about a team that you expect to do well, of course, here. For me, it's them, right? Coming off that LAN hype win. You saw what it meant to someone like Vico. We see him here showing up. They seem to be in good spirits. And them popping off, I think that's the confidence they were looking for.
Yeah, absolutely, right? We saw it back at the summit. You know, this is kind of also what we see from them on the FNCS, right? Another competition. They do have that slow start, but then suddenly something kind of just shifts, and then it's them all the way through to the end. Obviously, they have several more games to try and kind of pull this lead back, but I mean, to be top 7 for a duo like Vico and Malabuka, I have to have confidence, right?
Yeah, for sure. And then, of course, we're talking about a completely different format. This entire Reload series here. This is exciting stuff, and we're just getting started. Folks are just starting to warm up. Vico, Malabuka already are going to be a favorite for me, but also, if I'm talking about stories, teams really in the running right now, I got to give a shout to my good boys, Shadow and Virgo.
Yeah.
And, of course, shout out to that, too. There's a photo out there from 12 years old from when I met him to now being 18, competing on these in-person type stages, international competition. They're holding down the fort, and they're the next up.
Dude, think, again, harkening back to the Summit, right? They called their shot. They were like, hey, this next game, we're going to come out, we're going to win. Like, Shadow and Virgo are capable of these high caliber or high-end performances. This is actually something we talked about with Vivid not too long ago. The atmosphere is a little bit different, right? There is definitely some nerves at play. This is something some of these players are not used to. Literally, like, our fans are right here. They can hear every single time they roar or they go, whoa, like, this is so different. Like, that has to be playing some pretty big factors, right?
Yeah, definitely. But you know what? Every single tournament, especially ones like this, they're getting more reps in. Players here are continuing to earn experience, especially this new guard that we keep focusing on. There's a reason the stories, the light is on them, even Shark and TD, obviously, and all these other players, and they're performing very well.
Yeah, absolutely. Don't forget as well, the bottom 3 will be eliminated today. So a lot of the minds of these players, but for now, want to go back on over to the casters.
We are here, 2 games done, Taco. We have 10 games today, 10 tomorrow, 10 the next day, and then who knows when it comes to match point final. But this is already heating up and so entertaining. But I think the story of the day has to be Shark and Teeny and how well they've been playing. You know it, you casted it on EU. But they deserve all the credit in the world so far.
Look, it says a lot when the 3 Reload Elite Series finals that they make it to, they win every single one of them. I know that one issue, you know, things went a little bit awry, but ultimately they are very clearly studied in the ways of Reload. And it's just a big part of the reason to it is obviously Teeny leading the charge on the high ground and Shark just getting to go buck wild in his fragging capabilities. And I just think it makes so much sense when you see how they're holding down the high ground, why it's been so problematic for a lot of other teams to kind of even navigate through those lower layers. But at the same time, Jacob, if we keep seeing shakeups like this in back-to-back lobbies, you never know what could happen next. You never know who's actually going to be able to make their debut into that top 7 or who's looking to try and hold on to it. But one thing's for sure, everyone is looking to try and avoid getting relegated here in day 1. So bottom 3 is the only spot that you don't want to be.
Man, interesting enough, one team in that bottom 3 is a team that we all thought would be in the top 3 at the end of the entire thing. Peter, Bot, and Poyo. We have to talk about it because we just haven't seen the 2 guys that have dominated an entire region for years show up here yet today. Peter Bot had a moment there as a solo, but as you know, Reload is just so chaotic. It's hard to survive in some of those moments, and so we're just going to need a huge pick-me-up game from them.
Okay, look, we're talking about, though, Pete Poyo, but what we just witnessed out of Shark, 2 quick eliminations, and he's looking to rack up even more to the count. Absolutely no slowing him down. That is until Braids decides to be the counter. Shark's run of fun is going to be cut a little bit short-lived here, and Braids, Booga are going to start to work their way on the board with those 3 elimination points. And considering that they're only rocking 36 as is in the 3rd lobby, Jacob, they know they definitely got to try and start stepping things up.
Yeah, right there from from Shark. I told you, once you start to build yourself a little bit of a cushion, you start to feel yourself, you start to build that confidence. And honestly, if I'm Teeny, I just say, go ahead, do what you want. Do what you want the entire game here in this one. See how we can continue to rise up the rankings. Phoenix Retro across from Cringe and Voco here. They were the winners of that last game, trying to close the gap. Peterbot gets elimination onto Braids. Again, Reload, I love this game mode. Just constant action all day long.
Peterbot's going to be on the hunt, though, for some heavy ammunition. Wants a little bit more to rock with off of that, more fight. In fact, I'm going to change it out entirely, kind of recognizing the fact that one shot just isn't really going to cut it. You might be able to find something a little bit better even later on, but for Khaled, PH Zen, Edson, and this is a little bit of a lurk opportunity here potentially, but PH Zen not going to be able to connect the dots just yet, and Shari will be able to find himself in a slightly more secured spot, but teams are definitely still lingering, trying to see whether or not they can actually find a nice little entry point. All you need is the one elimination. Then you can keep trying to recycle, farming those reboot opportunities. And that's exactly what Malibuca is trying to avoid here. But Malu just not letting up on the pressure. Malibuca already in a rough spot, given that he just came back into the lobby after that early exit. So Mali hoping that somehow, some way, somebody can get a bailout opportunity on him.
Oh, yeah. Nope, not this time, Nalu. Rainier going to tape down Malibuca. Starting off here, Vico not too far away, and honestly, watched the feed last game. Malibuca did go down early on, but they were able to kind of bring it back and show that they're not going to get pushed over easy, but Vico hiding literally not too far away. Malibuca's going to spawn right above him, but Nalu, Rainy aren't able to land any shots there to get another quick down, but they have to know that Vico is somewhere nearby because of where he actually rebooted in from.
A little bit of a break, though, for Malibuca. See whether or not he's actually able to get his feet underneath him, since he was able to touch back onto the ground at least. But Pablo, Chino, in full control of Fearless Pier currently, as they start to make their way, trending over towards the next edge of zone. Bound to stay on the lookout, though, for reboot farm opportunities. That's really going to be the #1 priority for a lot of these teams here, just kind of understanding the fact that they don't need to overexpose themselves. They can just look for the easy shots.
A lot of sound in the distance of teams fighting, even some getting rebooted. About how you assess the situation. Take a look what Shark's doing here early on. Not too much movement after the first 2 eliminations. Kind of staying near and around their actual POI, making sure to farm up, getting the Flowberry Fizz. A lot of the tools that they need to have a successful game here. We've already seen 2. Even though they didn't win that last one, they got relatively close. They were taking high ground, and again, game after game, nobody has been looking up to contest that high ground team. I want to call for that moment. Hopefully somebody finds it in them, because it's what we did see in the qualifiers.
It just becomes so difficult, though, because whether it's using those launch pads plus the Fizz, whether it's using the crash pads plus the Fizz, it's just really hard to try and lock Shark and Teeny down. But Kamihari, they got other problems they're trying to work through, as Epic, Well, and Pump find themselves caught in a little bit of action here with Z-Dog and Goofy, but this one is going to seemingly fizzle out a bit. Epic, Well, and Pump will be able to take the supply drop, but not exactly an abundance of loot there. And Goofy, Z-Dog, they're actually going to be the main ones to sort of walk away from that exchange pretty healthy, but also looking to see whether or not they can even find other opportunities to get the points stacked up a little bit more.
Yeah, it's definitely not easy, but you can kind of see that they're able to find exotics in Reload. If you guys don't know, we have exotics, we have mythics, we have everything that you could possibly ask for and more in this one, so you're going to be able to utilize that one. It does come with a little bit of effect to kind of help them boost their game plan just a little bit better. I'm seeing Booga rotate around. Early game for Braids has been successful, able to find at least 1 elimination here. Again, there's no Storm Surge in Reload, but to me, getting those early game eliminations kind of starts to build the confidence.
Oh, for sure. And not only that, but it can be a great way to sort of make up for misplacement points, because with elims being 3 points apiece, look, it's not exactly an overabundance, but if you have just one pop-off game, say 7 or 8 eliminations total, which is rather feasible if you're able to just hunt down and hawk over a player that's trying to just get back into the action off of the reboot cycle. You never know, that might just be the actual game changer here. Shadow and Virgo, though, we're definitely waiting for a chance, but Vico getting a nice little replay package on where some things went very heavily in his favor up against Rainy. Probably not the highlight reel that Pedro wanted to see, but at the same time, that's just how the cookie crumbles.
Yeah, just kind of waited for them to separate too far, and they went ahead and struck. Think about Pollo not too far away of Khaled and Shari. Trying to be very, very careful. The zone is there. There's no reason to take the big risk just yet. Still only with that one elimination, so a slow start to the overall tournament from Peterbot and Pollo. And remember, it's top 7 make it directly to the finals. The bottom 3 will get eliminated from this group. And then the middle 10, they go to the survival stage, which is day 3.
And we're a little interested in what Mshari and Khaled had going on. And Overdrive's also going to alert Mshari that there was somebody potentially lurking on them. Still, they won't have the chance to actually fight it out just yet. Pete Pollo instead directed a little bit more of their attention towards PA Zin, and it's in. Nice opening shot now means that Pete Pollo, they can keep the rotation moving because they got the damage they were after, which is going to force PA Zin into a spot where he's got to prioritize healing his shield, restoring that. So now Pete and Pollo can just leapfrog their position, but it's Shark and Teeny who are actually going to be the choke point.
Hey, Pete and Pollo are known for going after the team in first place or atop of the leaderboard. That could have been a good shot to try to close the gap. But Shark and Teeny just as aggressive, just as dangerous, not too far away. And it's to see on the mini-map, there's not too many teams nearby, but that's okay for them. They just want to continuously rotate in. As long as they have the extra med kits and the white HP heals, they can spend an extended amount of time into the storm. And you can see why they're playing relatively safe as opposed to full-on aggressive. We're already in the 5th zone. Yes, you can reboot, but Taco, where are you going to go? What are you going to get if you end up going down here?
You're going straight into the elimination tally for another duo nearby. There is just very little wiggle room to actually try and escape some of that pressure, but thinking back to what P and Pollo were trying to do, getting a little bit more active against the likes of Shark and Teeny. You got to be careful what you wish for sometimes, because Shark and Teeny, not exactly the sort to sort of shy away from any kind of fight. There's no Sif and Izzy really trying to get the ball rolling here in game 3. A little bit of a doozy in the first couple of lobbies, but for the most part, they are still in a position where they can have a very solid run that jumps them up quite a few places on that leaderboard.
We've seen a lot of teams on the outskirts. Oh, what is this loadout? This is what I'm talking about. We got mythics, we got exotics, and while Vico was like, you know what? Let me grab a mythic spire rifle. Let me grab a mythic hand cannon. And this is something where he can spray. There's over 50 medium bullets in that clip, and he can just spray and spray and spray. And then if they do peek, he has the mythic hand cannon. And that's not mentioning anything that might be in Malibuca's loadout either. So if there's any game I would love to see them on high ground, this is the one.
Or at least attempting to try and take it again from Shark and Teeny. Might have gone south one time already, but you might be able to get your lick back. You never know. Still, Izzy, Nosif, raid visiting exactly where we left off. The Frenchies is there. Now waiting to see. Buildings clear. We are good to go. But there's no rush. Gotta have a little bit of patience when you're trying to orient yourself, especially when you know that the way that the zone is pooling, a lot of buildings that teams could already be kind of huddling around corners, making it very difficult to actually feel super safe in your next step.
Trying to see where the zone is forcing everybody yet again. And this is with the Elite Strongholds map, there's just so many different mountain edges, elevation changes, and it almost happens in every single one of the end games, no matter what side of the map we go on. This might be one of these first ones, but I'm crossing my fingers. I don't end up cursing the rest of the lobby. We go towards the northeast yet again, where we still have one team yet to start to rotate in, but for Shark and Teeny, you could see them starting to climb up that ladder. We've seen them on high ground in Game 1. We've seen it again in Game 2, and it's looking like we might see it again here in Game 3.
A big part of the reason why it's so hard to take hype from these guys is that they are just super aware. They are constantly checking every single one of their angles and always looking up. In a meta where we know that it is quite prevalent to utilize the crash pads and the fizzes or the fizz into the launch pad, Jacob, when you've got players that are as hyper fixated on clearing out the skies and with the aim to do it too, that's what makes Shark and Teeny just a whole different type of beast to contend with. It's currently Shark still holding on to those early 2 eliminations, but the damage may have already been done. Given that they are in one of the best positions currently on this lobby, it's all going to depend on whether or not they can continue to clear these paths forward. As long as they get these little pot shots in, weaken some of the other teams ahead of them, they'll be able to hold on to their high ground position.
Yeah, and in this next zone here, most of it is low ground. There's not too many mountains, but there's a little bit of a crevice. You can see it there in the mini-map. Literally at the middle of the entire thing, there's a little bit of a mountain you can start to attach to. And now with the zone pulling in that direction, Teeny and Shark, they're in the front side of the zone. They're not going to only be able to get damage on a lot of the teams, just like we saw last game. We could see a late shockwave for them to try to take it, but in their path, Booga and Braids as well. Muzz and Sphinx trying to rotate on over, so it's not going to be easy as it sounds.
You got Malabuka, though, getting a little dicey there with Shark and Teeny. They were nestled just underneath, and for Shadow Virgo, sort of waiting to see what their catalyst moment's going to be, but for Cammy and Hari, it's going to be an opening, trying to see if they could get credit, but it is Edson going down to the likes of Khaled, so no luck for Hari and Cammy to find 3 points off of an elimination just yet. Still, they are in a rather solid spot, because since they're just a little bit further ahead where Khaled is at, they'll have the opportunity to essentially force that engagement should he try to cut by.
Yep, this time around though, Izzy no sip, just trying to block it off. That's the little crevice of the mountain I was talking about, but instantly the zone moves, so do they. They're trying to follow along with it. No sip going first, Izzy staying back to watch their back. Everybody else is trying to take whatever positioning they can get, including Shadow and Virgo. They finally reunite in the same box, but you can see Lewa, Romero, and so many other teams waiting for them to make a mistake.
And Rainey's just not having a good time right now. Izzy and Nosif heads up play, doing exactly what a team on height needs to be very proactive about, shutting down those rotate opportunities from teams trying to leverage off of the launch pads and sending it towards height. But for Cammy and Hari, they've been sticking a little bit towards the low ground here. They're about 1 layer up currently, and the main thing is that they're just shredding through so many builds of players kind of hovering towards that middle section of the zone, so not really giving a great clearing process for teams to try and avoid their line of sight here. It doesn't help that Izzy Nosif also trying to be very adamant about holding that high ground position, but Pete, Koyo starting to scale up. Have to remember Shark Teeny, they're still lurking about. Vico Malabuka, another duo that is certainly going to try and get some leeway headed towards that high ground, but just how far up can you really look? Shark and Teeny are just so far and above the rest of the lobby. They are preserving so much of their build material.
I bet you they're eyeing up on Izzy and Nosif. They're saying, hey, make a mistake. Forget we're up here for 1 second, and that'll be the last thing you do in this game. Peterbot and Poyo, shockwave ahead. They gain a little bit of attention, but not much that they cannot handle. They're able to kind of re-hold their position. Shark and Teeny moving out yet again. They've been denied that opportunity for the high ground, but they're staying in front of the zone. That's going to be the most important thing.
Thought for a moment Phoenix Retro would maybe start to get a little entangled there with where Shark Teeny were at, but a hold back. It's Pete, Koyo. They have really been going through it here, Jacob. Pete not being able to actually open up any shots against Shadow when they initially made this rotate towards the front side of the zone, and they are quickly dwindling on their materials also, but Izzy, Nosif, they've managed to head right back up to the skies, and they are currently bearing down on the rest of the lobby. Hari, Cammy even gonna have to protect themselves now, but obviously Shark, Teeny, they are not content with seeing anyone else holding the position that's been doing so many dividends for them in these first couple of lobbies.
And I think they've even noticed Bofu and Altamont up at the top, forcing them down below. They have a sliver of HP left. Right decision for them to make, but it was just a little bit too late. Nosif is able to clean up that elimination. Zedar cleans up the other. That's another team out of this game, and you still have 2 more to go before you even start to get placement points, but the battle for high ground will begin. Shark and Teeny will take what's theirs for the 3rd straight game.
All Shark needs is a little bit to work with, and in forcing Izzy and Nosif to drop is such a big damage spend for the rest of this lobby. P, Poyo on their last legs, barely having an opportunity to try and restore some of their shield, but without any builds to their name, they are going to depend entirely on how well placed these next couple of shots can be, and can they avoid the exchange from somebody else on the other end of barrel. But it's a no-go for Peterbot. He's going to get brought down inside the underbelly of this lobby. Is now Booga Braids also on just 1 build, hoping that it's not going to be their last.
Yeah, just everybody kind of feeling how chaotic the end game has been. They're just burning through their materials. Even after they get an elimination, pick up the Siphon, they're almost immediately down to 0 as Booga picks up that one onto Epic. Well, Vico goes down, but it might be a sacrifice to draw attention away from Malabuka, allow him to start that heal off. With 9 teams left, Taco, make it 8. There's 2 solos running around that are the wild cards.
Izzy and Nosif might have been forced to drop from high ground, but at the same time, they are still making their presence known inside of those lower layers, doing a great job at staving everyone else in the lobby, preventing anyone from actually cutting through their builds. And Nosif finding another one onto Goofy. The Siphon material are going to pay so heavily for him. In fact, Goofy, D-Dog is going to be able to get away just like that. Izzy and Nosif with 9 eliminations already.
Yeah, the French fighters are doing it and doing it well. They're trying to go into double digits. That's 30 points off eliminations alone. If they can make that a possibility, and they're soaring into the top 5, make it top 4. Braids and Booga on the other side, and they get cut short yet again. Izzy and Nosif, 11 eliminations here, but their biggest challenge has yet to be fought. It's Shark, it's Teeny, and Shark is already jumping down below. He's trying to take the fight by himself. I don't know if Teeny got the memo because he's just a little bit too late to the fight. Izzy taking a lot of damage, finally lands a shot onto Teeny, trying to disrupt the flow that they have going on. Shark returns to the scene of the crime, and it's not going to be enough. Izzy and Nosif do it for France.
You can tell that Shark and Teeny are not happy about how that one actually ended up, but they are cheesing for Izzy and Nosif. It was just a dominoes effect for this duo. The moment that we saw them with those initial 3-4 eliminations, and then the tally just didn't stop. But what a well-played endgame out of these two. They were really firing off on all cylinders, and the way that they synergized their shots together on the low ground, that's what really brought everything together.
And there's one thing for sure. When I do my predictions online, I openly tell people, take it with a grain of salt. I pick with my emotions, my heart. And I was even talking to you, I was like, there's something about Izzy and Nosif. They've been playing well recently. They've been flying under the radar, squeaking in. I don't think people give these guys the respect that they deserve with how well they've been playing in some of these big moments.
It's just crazy to think about the favorable formats. You would almost think for Izzy and Nosif, ever since we saw them make their debut at the Summit LAN, it seems like these guys just knew that they had so much more left in the tank to give, and it's so crazy to see them bring home game number 3, because these early breakout points, that's what's really going to help funnel into maintaining position inside of the top 7 by the end of today.
Just big moments there. Shark and Teeny, though, we saw it in the first 2 games. No team kind of went for high ground, but they did. Let's listen to Izzy and Nosif.
Essaie de build, s'il te plaît. 0-0. Ok, je monte. Pareil. Je marche pas. Ouais. Passe ça. Ok, nice. J'attends le deuxième, je suis sur le top. Ok, rentre. L'enculé, mort. Nice. Nice, frère.
It's such a great job there. I love also the way that they read it like a book. Shark and Teeny were trying to stagger the way that they actually made their approach, but Izzy and Nosif just did such a great job, one after the other, not allowing any weaknesses in their defenses there.
Yeah, honestly, just the way they've been playing. They have the crowd on their side. Almost anytime, you were talking about Pablo and Chino, anytime they're on screen, anytime they're picking up eliminations, they have the entire crowd erupting. But just a big thing to notice, I know at one point we saw 11 eliminations. I'm not sure if they got a couple more on Shark Teeny or if I just saw the total at the end, but either way, Taco, that is a minimum of 33 points off straight eliminations alone. When we get to see the leaderboard, I expect to see this team near the top 10 at least.
They've definitely boomed the leaderboard. That is a given. And not only that, but I think that they've kind of proven as well to other teams in this lobby, because when you look at what their score was at the start of this game, they were right around that 30-point section. It wasn't really necessarily what they were hoping for, but obviously we've also got a direct interview with these guys on the scene, so let's hear it.
Thank you all so much. Fun little fact here. We've got Phoenix, we've got Retro. This is actually their first LAN ever. Guys, how does it feel to be your first LAN in this kind of context with this crowd? Let me know.
It feels great. The pressure is definitely high, but it's nice to be doing well when we're conned and it's going rough off spawn, but we're still able to make it into endgame and make the games that we have count.
What about you?
I'm just trying to not psych myself out and, play how we normally play and just perform the best we can.
How do you guys do that? How do you make sure that in these high pressure situations, because anytime something happens, you're hearing the crowd, they're right there. So how do you stay locked in those moments?
I just try to tune out the noise and I just pretend like I'm playing at home in my own environment, and it works.
Obviously, this is a big moment for you guys. First LAN and a VR, massive for you in terms of momentum. I'm sure there are people going to be watching you thinking, hold on, we should be their fans. What would you guys say to those fans?
I just want to thank everyone for supporting me, and I would like to, I don't know, just kind of appreciate everyone who's supported me this, so far.
You?
Yeah, I just wanted to thank everyone that supported me and believed in me from the start, and yeah,
You can hear them. They're already going crazy for y'all. Talk to me about, you guys talked about being conned though, okay? So what's the plan? How are we looking to address that? Are we looking to maybe change things up? You don't have to give away too much, but what are we thinking?
I mean, it's been working it's been working fine so far. So we're just gonna keep playing it. They aren't 50ing us, so it's a little difficult to bring the fight to them. But going into Slurp Rush in the next couple games, we're unconned, so it's looking pretty good for us.
Unconned. That's gotta be a big shift, right? Is that what you're hoping and looking forward to?
Yeah, we went into the tourney hoping that we were unconned, and we were conned. But, sometimes things don't go your way, and we're just playing our game and seeing how things go.
Awesome. Well, guys, thank you so much. Best of luck in Slurp Rush and being uncontested for now. We'll go to a short break. We'll see you in just a minute.
Everyone is playing, you're not yet. EWC Play is your all-in-one platform to compete in fantasy, pick'em, and quests for a grand total of $300,000 in prize pool. Build your dream fantasy team in 5 different games and track your score with live results tables. Predict the winner of every game, every group stage, and every tournament. Complete daily and weekly challenges to earn boosters that help you climb the global leaderboard. Got what it takes? Join EWC Play now.
Three matches have gone by for Group A, and we have gotten some surprises already from the get-go. But Nosif and Easy, Vivid being able to join us. Kelly, Levin, the 7WG, welcome back. We finally decided to come inside. But this match, I mean, for this squad, especially that just ended up winning, being able to bounce back too from those first 2 matches.
I mean, for Izzy and Nosif, this is incredible stuff because as Levin knows, big EU connoisseur himself, it was all about qualifier for these guys. It was an incredible clutch for them. This is where they actually made it to the EWC. So it took them all the way into that last qualifier to actually make it here. And then to show up in game number 3 and get that win and now sit in 2nd place on the leaderboard. I mean, Kelly, this is an incredible story.
Listen, I know that Levin's feeling good for EU right now, but I feel like Coach Harry, the first person to really call out this duo during the Reload Elite Series, is probably feeling pretty good. A lot of people were looking to this duo, and now all all eyes are on them right now. We talk about how it seems like there's this new echelon of players that are kind of coming up and taking over a lot of our dominant veterans, and I think this might be another duo that does that.
No, absolutely. I think especially within EU, there's been a resurgence of French Fortnite this year, and I think when you're looking at, you know, two players who have been champions of that, you'd have to throw their name into the hat. Honestly, the fans here getting behind them. These guys aren't on any of the French clubs, but every single person in this crowd who has a French, you know, jersey on, the second these guys were on hype, the second these guys were doing anything good, they were jumping, cheering, shouting. You just love to see the support they're getting right now.
You definitely love to see it, especially when players can get behind that as well, start feeling that energy and start putting that towards the game series with that bounce back that we saw. But now we're gonna talk about one team that really hasn't had to bounce back because they've just been so consistent at the top, and that is none other than Shark and Tini being able to just do their thing this first 3 matches, it feels like.
Yeah, I feel like game 3 was the one that kind of did it for me here, Kelly, because listen, you know, when we kind of looked up towards the high ground and they were on higher ground once more, I kind of just shrugged it off. I was like, how are they consistently doing it?
They were in game number 2, they were in Storm all the way until zone 5, zone 6. I was like, clearly they lost half of their health. All these people are going to be watching them come into zone. There's no way they're, oh, nope, they made it and they almost won the game. Cool.
It's been, I think if you're an EU fan, it's been exactly what you expected,
Exactly.
right? It's what they've done all year.
Yeah, we'll get a chance to talk about that duo that you guys are currently alluding to. But some of the other surprises, I mean, we just got a chance to hear from Phoenix and Retro 2 being their first LAN 11. And Kelly, this is one of those things that sometimes it lets them get onto, the pressure just gets to these players. It's not looking like that so far.
I think the reality is these guys didn't come in, I think, with that much pressure, right? I don't think they had all of NA sort of looking at them going, you guys need to represent for us and deliver at the top level. It's allowed them to come into today, play their game. They've gone under the radar, and again, a very strong start. There's a lot of games to be played, right? So you don't want to get too ahead of yourself, but this is encouraging signs.
Thank you, Levin, for kind of bringing up the conversation of NA, because unfortunately for NAC specifically, I mean, Phoenix and Retro are actually carrying that conversation right now. The only team from NAC in that top 10 was actually Booga and Braid sitting there in 9th place. So let's go ahead and take a look at the second page here, right? Where are these teams actually standing? I mean, Shadow and Virgo, these guys got to pick it up. I mean, 12th place, Muzz and Sphinx, these guys got to pick it up. And then Kelly, the duo that I'm sure you are begging to talk about. I mean, Peterbot and Pollo down there in 17th place, 33 points.
How could we not talk about this duo? This is the duo that's been on everyone's name, not just in the Reload Elite Series, but in the FNCS. They won 3 of the finals and they got 2nd place. And to see them not just doing poorly, but at the bottom of the barrel, this, I'm not trying to like talk trash. I think this is shocking and there's something going wrong.
It is shocking, but I think, you know, I can sit here and dunk on Pete and Pollo all day long, right? I know people think I want to do that. The reality is, these guys are 2 of the best players in the world. When you look at a lot of their year so far, they've had a lot of performances like this where it's very slow to start. I think the days of Peterbot and Pollo just sort of running at everybody and completely rolling them over, it's probably past those days. However, they are still a team that you would pick to beat anyone when it comes to a fight. And so I think they need to just sort of take some time to reset. I don't think they're over. I don't think they're finished. I don't think they're washed. I just think this is a reality check that will be very good for them moving forward.
All right, Levin, I see what you're cooking there. You don't want to trash them too much. It could be too early to wave that red flag for some of their squads too. It's only been 3 matches. We still got 7 more matches to go, but they are fairly close to the bottom 3. And what happens to the bottom 3 at the end of the day? Those keys get crushed. So I want you, Levin, to look back at the camera. I want you to get into your best mindset as a coach. If you are currently coaching those 2 players from Falcons, what are you going to be telling them after 3 matches?
You guys have done it time after time. Whenever the pressure's been on, whenever people have doubted you, you've made it happen. Make it happen today. You guys aren't finished. You guys aren't done. You guys are the best in your region. Show that here today. The Falcons are supporting you. All the different games have come together. They put in so much work for you to deliver in the final lap of the race. You have to make it happen.
Oh
my God.
Baby, I don't know about you, Kelly. I don't know about you. I mean, put me in there, coach, because I want to play.
Yeah, I know. This is getting me motivated. Maybe I have to throw the old headset back on, Lev. Thank you very much for that. Listen, actually, I want to bring up a conversation that me and Levin had just not too long ago, talking about this comeback from Peterbot and Pollo. We kind of gave them a number of games that they could kind of clutch up, right? And Levin called it, he was like, listen, they could probably throw away like 6 games and they could still pull it off because we know what Peterbot and Pollo are capable of. So confident in Peterbot and Pollo's capability that me and Levin kind of both agree that they could get into the top 7